Hi guys, Troy at the Full Setup, back with another video for you today. Now in today's video I really want to show you that the Ryzen 2600 plus a GTX 1060 or RX 580 are a perfect combo for 1440p 60 frames per second gaming, and that just because you're on a mid-range budget it doesn't mean that you should be limited to 1080p gaming. 1440p monitors can be easily picked up for £200 in the UK, and ASUS even offer a 144Hz model for just over £300. Now I know the 1060 isn't going to push 144Hz at 2K resolutions, but I will be testing some games at low today for anyone looking to game past 60Hz. Anyway, before we start with the benchmarks, let's address the elephant in the room. Now I know a lot of you will be thinking because a 1060 or a 580 will be the bottleneck in your system, you would be better going with a quad core and spending the extra cash on something like a 980 Ti or a GTX 1070. And although this may be true for many games, when it comes to the most demanding games, you can clearly see here the 2200G is really struggling with the Amiens map even at 1440p settings. There is a full spec list in the description. I'm running the 2600 at stock settings with 3466 MHz memory and a 6GB GTX 1060. Now I know the 1060 is overclocked, but I will discuss that a little bit later in the video. Starting off with Rise of the Tomb Raider, at low settings we have a minimum of 65.68 and an average of 99.92. At very high settings we have a minimum of 41.32 and an average of 59.51 frames per second. Moving on to Far Cry 5, at low settings we have a minimum of 66 and an average of 75 frames per second. Upping the preset to high settings we have a minimum of 51 and an average of 59 frames per second. For Grand Theft Auto 5, I always test with advanced graphics off, so expect your scores to differ a bit from mine if you do have these settings turned on. At low settings we have a minimum of 71.86 and an average of 158.27, cranking the settings up to very high and we have a minimum of 44.92 and an average of 89.5 frames per second. Now for those benchmarks, the scores were taken when not recording, so expect your scores to be slightly lower if you're not overclocking your graphics card, but for the remainder of the video I will just be showing recorded gameplay. Due to Shadowplay dropping frame rates from 5 to 10 frames per second, what you're seeing on screen now should be very close to what you get with a stock 1060. As you can see with Battlefield 1 on low settings, although there are occasional bottlenecks, frame rates for the most stay over 100 frames per second. Moving on to Ultra, and the 1060 has no issues driving frame rates over 60 frames per second. Now I am testing the most demanding map in Amiens. I could have easily cherry picked footage from other maps with much higher frame rates, but I think it's important to show this gaming combo at its worst and not just its best. Even at Ultra settings, Forza Motorsport 7 still causes bottlenecks. This is a game that really just loves single core performance. That being said, with frame rates always over 100 at 1440p, you can't really make any complaints. Moving on to the least demanding game today, the Ryzen 2600 and GTX 1060 have no problems running Overwatch at over 100 frames per second. I did consider running at lower settings, but I think we all know it would have no issues maxing out 144Hz 1440p panel. For Assassin's Creed Origins, I went for high settings, and although it can't quite deliver 60 frames per second, the game is more than playable at these frame rates, and I personally preferred playing it on this preset versus medium settings. Moving on to PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, I decided to start it on the lowest preset, and for the most it will run at over 100 frames per second, but I did find it struggled to maintain 60 at Ultra, and you would be much better playing at high settings at 1440p resolutions. So there are the benchmarks, and as you can see, the Ryzen 2600 at stock settings with a GTX 1060 are a fantastic 1440p gaming combo. Now you won't be able to play every game at Ultra and maintain that golden 60 frames per second, but 1440p at high settings will look considerably better than 1080p at Ultra settings. So if you feel like you have been gaming at 1080p for too long, I would fully recommend taking the step up to 1440p. Anyway, that's it from me today. If you like the video, leave a like. If you dislike the video, leave a dislike. If you really like the video, make sure you subscribe. And if you have any questions, just let me know in the comment section, and I'll be back with some more videos very soon.